This guy has become a friend at a really critical point in his life. He could draw upon his childhood. And our show somehow derives some sort of courage, and it was just mind-boggling to me.
Barry Gordon, Donatello, Townsend Coleman, and Michelangelo, Cam, Clarke, Leonardo, Rob Paulsen, the amazing Raphael, Renae Jacobs, April O'Neil, and the Turtles' daddy himself, Mr. Kevin Eastman!
Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Splinter taught them to be ninja teens. He's a radical rat. Leonardo leads, Donatello does machines.
Oh my gosh, it's like rounding up cats. This is amazing. Or rounding up turtles, should we say. Your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, April O'Neil, and the creator on this very stage. MCM, we're excited.
Yeah, baby.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Cowabunga!
Woo! How are we doing, guys? How's London treating you all so far?
Fantastic.
I just have a question for Kevin.
Uh-oh.
What was it like to be the first Ninja Turtle?
A dream. You know what I say? I probably said it a million times to each of you. It's like, one, I have, and we all have the best jobs ever because we have the best fans ever. But I've been doing this now for 42 years, and it's all your fault. And thank you. So, I spoke with Pete last week. He knew he was coming over here, and he sends his love as well. So, yeah, we're just thrilled to be here with all of you. So, that's awesome. Especially these guys and Renae brought our characters to life. These were the original voices that brought the characters to life, and what a dream to have known them, have them work with them, and help bring our creations to life that we now know and recognize and love those voices as the classic original Turtles.
It's very
And
kind
April.
of you. Thank you.
They are the original and probably the best, I would say, at that point, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kevin, when you first drew that turtle on a napkin, passed it over to Peter, just to make him laugh. Yep. Did you guys have, when you then started creating the turtles, did you have any concept into how big a phenomenon this could actually be for you? And who was your creative inspiration as well?
Yeah, we knew from the minute we did it, it was going to be huge.
Yeah.
No, it was, as you said, my inspiration was, Pete and I shared a very little studio, and I think there was more rejection notices stuck around the place of us sending out samples and trying to get work. And I was a huge fan of Bruce Lee growing up, and it was just to make Pete laugh. One night I did a sketch of a turtle standing upright with nunchucks strapped. The one's on my hat here, and said, "This is going to be the next big thing," ha ha ha. And did the sketch, and it did what I wanted to do. It made Pete laugh, and of course, studio one-upmanship. He did a drawing, changed some things, added some things, improved some things, and then we were both like, well, why not a group of them? Like X-Men or Fantastic Four. And so I penciled this sketch with 4, each with different weapons, and I put this comic book logo that said Ninja Turtles on it. And then when he did the inking on it, he had a Teenage Mutant. We just thought it was the funniest thing ever, and it's one of the first things that we didn't send out to try to sell. We said, let's keep this one for ourselves, and who knows where it would go. So we tricked my uncle Quentin to loan us $1,200 to print the first 3,000 copies. So early form of crowdfunding, and that's why that first issue was beginning, middle, and end was in one issue, because we never thought there'd be a second issue. Man, were we wrong, and thank goodness. So again, 42 years of drawing turtles, and it's just been each year and each decade that goes on, the fact that I still get to do this job, and I still get to come to a place like this beautiful MCM Center with these guys and enjoy and meet all you fans and get to thank you in person. It's just so incredible. What a journey, And it's
just from drawing a picture on a napkin. So just goes to show whatever ideas, any creativity you put in the world, right? Just hold on to that creativity for sure.
No, I do. I've met a lot of us, aspiring artists and writers and things, and I just remind them, it's like, one, keep working at your craft, but two, there are no stupid ideas. It's like, if you find something you like and you are passionate about it, just stick with it, and then you never know. The Turtles is proof positive of that.
And obviously, you were the bane of every parent in the 90s, because I don't think there was any parent that could say, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle in order, and then that created Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Biker Mushroom. You literally started a thing with that, and I know for a fact my parents could never ever spit that out. Voice actors. I mean, how did you feel when you got the call from your agents to say, hey, you're going to be on this program, but we want you to be on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
I thought my agent was stoned, frankly. I hadn't heard of the comic book, and okay. Yeah, right. What am I really going out for?
Well,
That was my first.
like what our fearless leader said, and as fortunately working actors that we were, people, I was joking with you, but say, what was it like? I say, well, for us, it was an audition that we booked, and since there was a 5-story arc, we were just like, all right, guys, we got 5 paychecks. But you can't know, because great ideas crash, silly ideas are huge, so you learn to leave the job at the job, leave the audition at the audition, because you never know how an idea like this, you pothead, could come to fruition.
Who'd have thought? How many you guys were? Was 200, 288, 200? It was a lot of episodes. So, 193. But yeah, that's just. But man, you're so right. And in fact, have you guys, either of you ever met Chuck Lorre before? Oh, Chuck Lorre is. I don't know if you. Some of you may already know this, but some may not. Chuck Lorre did Big Bang Theory and 2.5 Men. When he first was finding his path in Hollywood, he would write jingles and do things. And Chuck Lorre wrote the original theme song for the Turtles. And I got to meet him. Courtney and my wife and I got to meet him once and sit in the couch on Big Bang and sat in Sheldon's spot. But no, we got to meet Chuck, and he said it was one of those breaks that he got that was so fantastic, because people then knew who he was because he wrote the Turtles theme song.
That was the key to his fame.
That was what
But he not only wrote it, but he sang it too, right? Wasn't he?
I think he did. Yes, he did. You're right. Good. I forgot
all those
that part.
crazy little voices, when they say Michelangelo's the party dude. Party!
But
Lorre.
speaking of writing, I'd love to hear from you native folks, or you too, when here they change the title. And like you brought us an original thing backstage of Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
That made me, as a child, so mad. Because I could see our American counterparts getting the Ninja Turtles. We had a discussion about this earlier, didn't we, guys? And I was like, I was so mad. And the other thing that really annoyed me was Partners in Crime, when they said Raphael's the leader in the song. And it's not, Leonardo's the leader. Come on, let's get this. Now, you two.
By the way, you see the lovely young lady in the front with the Raphael purse? Huh? That's right. Thank you. My friend. By the way, Kevin, thank you for my houses. I'm telling you what. No, what a privilege all of this is. We have, as a result of Kevin and Peter, we have the privilege of doing this as many times as we can around the world. And I'm telling you, friends, you have not lived until you've been with a lovely group of young Abu Dhabians. Or UAE, people from the United Arab Emirates, in their traditional, beautiful Arabic garb, screaming, Turtle Power! It's incredible. Everywhere we go, we can make the argument that we could go places in the world and say, are you a fan of George Clooney? George Clooney. Oh, he's an actor, yeah. Los Tortugas Ninjas? Oh, sí, Kawabunga! And it's the most... Honestly, Kevin, I know we're preaching to the choir, but my goodness.
No, but that's, it's such a, to me, it was such a goofy American idea, if you will, that the fact that, you get it like Americans are, we're silly, and it worked there was fantastic. And then the first country that we went to outside of the U.S. was actually the U.K. And it's like, it started...
So what is the hero word about?
They had banned the word ninja in here, and they also, it's like, if you look at some of the early, and I know things have changed since then, but even a lot of the early cartoons, they would cut out a lot of the scenes that had Michelangelo in it, because you weren't allowed to show nunchucks. on TV, and it was actually there's a really weird scene. I was it's funny when we were over here doing the I was at a premiere for the first Turtle movie, and I went on the Jonathan Ross show, which was he's hilarious. And but they were showing the scene with Michelangelo on the phone ordering the pizza, which sets up the next scene, and he's spinning his nunchucks, and they just blacked out that part of the screen. So all you saw was him on the phone and his hands doing
you
something.
mean like-
and you're like
Pretty rough.
You mean like
What are
blurred
you
it?
doing?
Like blurred it out?
blurred it out. Yeah, they blurred it out
There
because
was
you
a
couldn't.
character off screen going, "Cowabunga."
Yeah.
Sorry. Right. Sorry.
Oh, a fellow chucker. You know what I mean? That scene that cut out. They cut that. But even in the cartoon, they edited out a lot of those scenes. But
When they switched them to grappling hooks.
yeah, exactly. And I think
You know, what's so amazing, we were doing a con in the States, and a gentleman came up to us, and he had a European accent, and he came up to us, and he told us he was from Slovakia. And, you know, so you say, well, you know, sure, you know, and so how long have you been in the States, right? He said, no, I'm from Slovakia.
Today.
I came from Slovakia to see you.
that's awesome. Yeah. That is so
and
fantastic.
told us about his 16-hour flight to just get to us. I mean, that is mind-blowing.
my
and
goodness.
and there's a lovely woman, she might even be here, Marcella.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
And
Marcella.
the first time I met Marcella was in the States, and she came from Ireland
Right.
to see us. And now we're seeing her closer to home now, but
And-
it's mind-blowing when that happens. It
And
really
Kevin, I want you to know that because of you, Barry and I have had PTSD, and it's built character because some of our darling fans, Mr. Clarke, I want you to know you are my second favorite turtle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can
I've
beat
grown,
that.
I've grown. And Barry
I can beat
Barry
that.
can beat this.
Oh, absolutely. A fan came up and asked me to sign, and I was signing, not here, this somewhere else, and I was signing, and he just kind of looked, and he said, how does it feel being the least favorite turtle?
Oh. Can we give Donnie some love, please? Yeah?
It's like,
We love Donnie.
So I said, well, this one's $100.
You should have said, I don't know, ask Rob.
No, I didn't.
You know, I have to, may I just interject, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but Townie has a story about it. A person who was in the armed forces who came to visit us. Was it last year somewhere, Townie?
It was last August. Yeah.
I know, and I know you hear this all the time, but and you've been given so many remarkable. You and Courtney are. By the way, you and your lovely wife make such a remarkable
Thank you.
couple because you
Very lucky.
all of you.
Paid a lot of money for her,
So many of you have had the pleasure of meeting Kevin and his wife Courtney, and they, as if we have to remind you, but they are all about the fans. That's it. We've all made lovely. We've been rich and poor. Rich is better. However, when you folks go out of your way to come up and tell us the most profoundly personal, powerful stories. We meet our friends. We have our friend Joe here. All these lovely people. And Townsend has a story that really is remarkable, if you wouldn't mind sharing it with them.
No, I mean, it really is remarkable. We were in the Pacific Northwest last summer, and a gentleman came up, and he looked like he was in some sort of military fatigues. I got the sense that he was in the service. And he came up to me, and just very quietly and humbly, he shook my hand, and he said, Mr. Coleman, I just have to tell you that you saved my life, and I need to thank you for it. And I looked at him, and I mean, we hear gracious stuff all the time, but this is the first time I ever had somebody tell me that I had something to do with saving his life, and I said, oh my gosh, how? And he said, I was formerly in the Army and was in service over in Afghanistan and Iraq. And I used to wear this patch, and he showed me a patch, a Velcro patch, that was just the head of Michelangelo saying, Cowabunga, it is. And And he said, I used to wear this patch on my left shoulder. And every time we went into battle and I was scared, I would put my hand over this patch and just think about what Michelangelo would have done
Wow.
to get me through and into this battle and home safely. And he gave me just the courage. And man, as he's telling me this, he's starting to tear up. And I'm looking at this going, I can't believe what I'm hearing. And I started tearing up as well. And he said, I need you to have this patch.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's so amazing.
It was unbelievable to me. And since this guy has become a bit of a friend now, and we talk to each other on the phone every so often, and he's just wonderful, just a wonderful human being. But the fact that, you know, at a really critical point in his life, he could draw upon his childhood, you know, and our show somehow and derive some sort of courage and encouragement from that was just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, those kinds of stories are just, you know, we're all lucky to have those. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, wow.
But those, when you get those experiences, the same thing. It's like I've cried more at conventions than any other time ever. You get somebody would tell you these stories, and you're just like, because you don't realize the effect that it has on people. And they think of the things that I grew up on and things that inspired me and gave me strength back then. And you never put yourself in that position of giving that to somebody else. When they tell you, I'm like getting emotional now. But it is one of those things that's such an incredible thing. And it's sort
Kevin, you share a lot of fan art on your websites. It's just wonderful. I mean, when somebody asked me to draw, sweet girl asked me to draw a picture of Yakko yesterday. It looked like I was having a seizure. No, you know, it's just awful. Hello, it was crazy. But you share all these wonderful, heartfelt drawings that the children send you, and it's just great that, I mean, you are so active with the fan base. You are very clearly so profoundly affected by all the joy you've created that it's just wonderful.
No, thank you. No, and it's such, you know, sometimes, you know, we've gotten a number of gifts at this show already, and I tell fans that we keep everything. We have 3 storage bins to prove it, and because it's given to you with such passion and thoughtfulness, and there's this wonderful karma. We save everything, and we put it up on change the icons and stuff like that to celebrate. And I adore them. I think it's just such a treat and a wonderful thing. So.
Just goes to show how pop culture can really change someone's life, isn't it, and have that impact on people. Renae, when you're in the, I'm getting a feeling of this already. I'm spending 10 minutes on stage with these guys and a little bit of time backstage as well. How do you keep these guys in check when you're all in the recording studio? Because back in the day, you would all record together. I'm sure you can clearly see there's a brotherhood here and a lot of mischief going on. You would have had the wonderful James Avery as well in there. What was it like sharing the studio with these guys? And did you have to crack the whip and be April?
Well, thank goodness I wasn't in charge. There were people behind the glass in the booth who were in charge of keeping them in check, and they did their best. A lot of times, a lot of the lines were ad-libbed, and, you know, you'd hear this, excuse me, just stick to the script. But especially in the later episodes. But I'd go home with my face hurting because they are so clever and so funny. And I know that all of the iterations of Turtles are wonderful, and you all have your favorites. But there's something about the secret sauce of these actors that originally brought these characters to life that I think made the difference. You can tell me I'm wrong, it's okay.
No, spot on.
But each one of them brought these characters from 2 dimensions to multi-dimensional. And I'm just the luckiest person in the world to have these gentlemen as my dear friends, my family, my turtle brothers.
Yes.
And I get asked all the time, who's your favorite turtle? I say none. They're all
Say
my
Leonardo
favorite.
is your second favorite.
Yes.
Second.
They're all
Was it
my
Donatello's the least favorite?
Yeah, Donatello's.
No.
Actually,
But it was wonderful, and I didn't have to do anything except keep an eye on him because he loses everything.
Oh, he's trouble.
We can
Cam?
already tell.
Well, yeah,
And Kevin,
I'm
sorry, Rob, go
I
ahead.
was just going to interject very quickly.
Your Cam Clarke theme song?
Yes, my plan. No, not that one. But these events, these MCM, brilliant. The Reed Pop folks always do such a bang-up job, fantastic. But the ethos and the reason that these conventions are so wonderful, and now, you know, they're springing up like zits on a 12-year-old, which is a compliment. They're so ubiquitous but the ethos of this whole experience is we all have our own issues to deal with in life, and we have a lot of folks who come to conventions who may be outside of this realm, a little more socially awkward, have this, but here, everyone is accepted. Everyone is welcome. No one is looked at sideways, unless they say, oh my God, that guy's had 3 heads. You know, and I love the whole cosplay and the whole experience that encompasses the joy that you and Peter have created in a realm that is utterly acceptable, utterly accepting, that everyone is glad that you're here. And what a glorious thing to be part of.
It is, you know, I've actually just to further, yeah, it is so true.
Kevin, I have to ask you another question, and please don't take this the wrong way, but those first 5 episodes are such a blur to me, honestly. And there is a point to this preamble. You were indeed at the first sessions, yes?
I was not at the first sessions.
Oh, you were not?
No, we not. But we had gotten a lot of the voices, and it was one of those things for Peter and I, because it was such a new experience for us, because when we would draw the comic books, you have voices in your head of what they sound like, and, you know, they had sent us different samples, and when they settled on these guys, you know, we contributed to, you know, like, a couple theme songs, and we picked the one that Chuck did, and we did a couple voices, and we agreed to. They said the casting is going to be, you know, these 5 awesome, incredible people, and once you started hearing those voices, I've never written or thought of the Turtles any other way than what you guys brought to it. It was like, so you hear that voice, you know, and it's like that's how.
So I can't blame you for the fact.
I know where you're going.
That I was supposed to be Michelangelo and he was supposed to be Leonardo.
Oh, really?
When you cast all of us, they knew, obviously, April is April. They knew he was Raph. They knew that he was Donatello. And they hired both of us because they thought we were right for something. And we got the session. No. Right. They didn't know which of us was going to be Leo and which was going to be Mikey. And I so wanted to be Michelangelo. Since I was at ground zero of surf talk, being raised in LA. So they started, they literally flipped a coin.
No way.
You don't know this? You don't know this?
You don't now.
Career
I think you mentioned that to me once. I had forgotten about that.
And they said, "Okay, Cam, first time you're Leonardo, Townie, you'll be Michelangelo, and then after the break, we'll switch and we'll decide." So we go through the whole run through, blah blah blah. All right, everybody back in. We're gonna do the record now. All right, let's go. Everybody quiet. I'm like, wait, excuse me. You said I would get to also try to be Michelangelo? Yeah, no, we're good. We're fine like this.
Oh, and tell what happened when.
Yeah, but I mean, you said we're good and roll tape. And so, as the straight man of the group, pardon the pun, these wackadoos have their zany, over-the-top characters, and I'm the straight turtle. And I'm just here.
Pardon the pun.
Yeah, pardon 2 puns. And so these clowns are doing loop-de-loops around me, and I'm there going, we got to think of something fast. And so I was jealous of the antics of these guys. So I started pushing Leo further than just, you guys, we've got to stay in line. You know, this is our job, and I'm in charge. And I started trying to make him as broad as the other 3. At a break, Sue Blue, our director, she goes, Cammy, come outside. I need to talk to you for a second. I went, sure. What are you doing? I said, well, what do you mean? I'm just trying to make Leo more fun, more crazy. Well, don't. She says, you are the leader. They do cartwheels around you, and you are this tent pole. But it was really hard, as these darling castmates know, to be, in the comedy duos. Somebody is the straight guy, and the other guy's the loopy guy, the Smothers Brothers or Rowan and Martin, whoever. And I just am glad to know that you weren't part of breaking my heart in this decision.
Oh, Cam.
I think what made it worse for Cam was when they settled on me as Michelangelo, and like Cam said, yeah, he was at ground zero for all that surfer dude stuff back then. I was just an interloper from the Midwest in Ohio, and I learned everything I knew about how to speak surfer from Cam. What?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Well, no, I guess
Cowabunga, dude.
you can use this as a
No, I'm
point of.
thinking cowabunga. No, let's try this again. Try this again.
Okay, all right. Then it goes like this. Cowabunga.
Yeah.
Cowabunga.
No. Sue Blue, I'm supposed to be Michelangelo.
There you can see the trouble that Renae had trying to keep these guys in line. I just listened.
It was not an easy
No,
job.
but I loved it because it's like April was the first human character that we added to the Turtles universe in issue 2. And I love that when the approach we worked with David Wise and Patty Howarth and a number of people building April's character that Renae brought to life was she was not like the damsel in distress. She was not. She was an official fifth turtle. She was part of the action. She was right there and out there getting it done and going get it and trying to keep the guys in line.
But she
Sometimes
has a story too. You've heard her story because, when there's a creative team, they don't always agree, right? And you have a story about what happened with you.
I didn't know I was going to tell this story. So I don't know if you know about this, and maybe Stu was just messing with me, but our first director was Stu Rosen, who was a huge character. Outside of the studio, he was nice, and inside of the studio, he was not. And we're all actors. We're all very insecure. We show up to the first episode, and we do the run-through, and now we have a break, and he's outside smoking, and he says, "Renae, come here." And I said, "Yeah?" He goes, "You weren't my first choice for April."
Oh.
Do you know this, Kevin? Do you know this?
I didn't know this story.
And I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah." He said, "I didn't think you were April, but I played all 200 auditions from every woman in town, and they said, not April, not April, not April."
Holy
And
smoke.
I said, "I have one more, but I don't think she's April." And then I played yours, and they said, "That's April."
And now he's dead, so you showed him, didn't you? Yeah.
I think Renee's our
Don't
April,
mess
right?
with April.
But what I was going to say is that thank you for making April that exact character, because she was, I believe, the first strong female cartoon character that I can remember that wasn't goofy.
Girls coming up and telling.
And I was going to say, I have had so many women say, because of April, I went into the military and I fly jets. And because of April, I became a reporter. And because of April, I had a relationship with my brothers who used to beat me up.
Yep. I heard
And-
some of those this weekend. Just people saying that was a bonding thing between
It
her
really
and her brothers,
was.
or her and her. Yeah, so-
And you really thought out of the box. And even though April would say, "Put me down, you big ape," she never was really that scared, because either she was going to get out of it or these guys were going to help her.
That's great.
And I had an opposite experience, really, from Cam, because we all read for all 4 turtles. That was how it all worked. So, and I don't remember who the casting director was or whatever of that. I don't remember. But I just remember, you know, you come up with a different voice, and I tried to come up with a different voice for all 4 turtles, and I came up with some kind of Donatello voice. Because I said, be a little nerdy, a little, you know, the science guy, I mean, and I came up with some voice that I will not ever remember. And I just remember the casting director saying, no, just use your own voice. So I got hired just to use my voice, which was the easiest thing in the world. And I just remember leaving the audition, you know, and having read for all 4, and just going in the car and just saying to myself, God, I hope I get Donatello. If I get anything, I want Donatello. I want Donatello. So there was never like any doubt. And then when I got the call, it was like amazing. And then in the second episode, they threw me a curve, and all of a sudden I was Bebop, which I never expected to be.
Isn't that great?
But, you know.
Yeah.
But can you imagine any other voice as Donatello?
You can't.
No.
And I said one more. I lied. One more Canadian, 2 more U.S. What I also love about this franchise, as you guys know, is that it's not about your station. It's not about whether you're rich or famous. Everybody loves turtles, and everybody, even your own Sir David Attenborough, who just turned 100.
Correct, yeah.
I remember watching one of his spectacular programs on the Galapagos Islands, and he's talking. You know, the lovely Galapagos turtles, not the ninja variety, you understand. And he even referenced that. And a few years ago, I had the privilege of singing our national anthem at Dodger Stadium, at the big baseball stadium. And as I got finished singing it, and I was walking to my seat to watch a ball game, I was tapped on the shoulder by a young man who at that time only was probably about 32, making about $20 million a year playing ball. And it was the third baseman of the LA Dodgers. It was
Justin Turner.
Yeah, Justin Turner. And he's standing there with this, you know, dressed and ready to go to play baseball. And he says, "Are you really Raphael?" And I said, "Yeah, man." And he opened up his Dodgers jersey. He had a turtle shirt on. And so I was signing a picture for this 30-year-old kid who makes $20 million a year because he wanted me to sign his turtle picture. And his wife
So awesome.
was standing behind him tearfully saying he has every Ninja Turtle, everything. He still has his old bed sheets. When he goes to spring training, he takes his Ninja Turtle backpack. And then a couple years later, I threw out the first pitch at my hometown of Detroit, and they had a couple of kids coming up at the end of the season to try out in the big leagues. And so I threw the ball from the mound to the plate in the air, but it went like this. Okay. But the young man who caught the ball was this kid from the Dominican Republic. So I threw the ball. He comes out to give it to me. He goes, Los Tortugas Ninjas? And I said, sí. He goes, Rafael? I said, sí. He goes, ah! And he was flipping out. He couldn't believe that the guy who threw the baseball was Rafael.
One of the great stories about Justin Turner that he was talking about is that this kid had cleats that were custom painted.
Adidas made him some turtle cleats.
That were Ninja Turtle cleats. Didn't he wear those in the World Series?
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah, right.
He was part of the team, yeah.
Now, I got to say something about fame. Because we're not face actors.
Thank God.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, if our show had the popularity of I'm sorry, I'm showing my age. Cheers or Friends or one of these big shows where those kids couldn't, you know, just take out the trash without being, you know, spotted. And when we first hit our big height, maybe like season 2-ish or right into 3, when it was just pow, I'm kind of not digging that nobody stops me on the street. So I'm at the movies, at the multiplex, and, you know, there's different lines for each movie. And I see at the end of one of these lines a little guy. He's got his turtle hat on. He's carrying his plushie into the movies. The T-shirt, the shoes, blah-bitty blue, everything. So I go, I'm going to give this kid a thrill.
Just like that.
So, and he's got this ice.
No wonder he got scared. I mean, if you're going to walk like that, jeez.
So, and he's got this ice cream cone that is as big as he is, right? And he's doing and I'm not even exaggerating. He's going. So I go up to him, and I say, "Hey, I see you're a fan of the Ninja Turtles." Yeah. Well, guess what? I'm Leonardo. Oh, yeah? And I'm Donatello. Bam! So I'm like, okay, don't have your mom call security. I'm going to, I'm back over here.
Security, would you please come to the, there's a man complaining to a Ninja Turtle, and he's talking to children.
It's funny. I just to further on, our son is going to be 20 this year, and for the longest time growing up, he didn't think I had a job. So it's like,
Wow.
It's school, especially elementary school and grammar school and elementary school, that he's like, well, other people's parents actually leave the house and go to work.
Oh my God.
And he said, and he tells people, my dad just stays home in his sweats and draws cartoons all day. And it wasn't until, some of his friends thought it was cool. Then I started to become cooler. And it's funny, we had a show, and a couple of people had come up and goes, "Oh, you're a legend. You're a living legend." This is, and I said, "Well, yeah, everybody knows that. They call me the Ledge." And as a joke, I made this shirt that says the Ledge. So it's still he's sort of like, that's what my dad does. He does the Turtles. And so the craziest moment, I never get recognized outside of a convention like this anyway. But we were lucky enough. We went to Paris for a show. We brought our son with us, and we're sitting in a restaurant outside the Louvre waiting to go in, and this waiter comes around the corner and basically practically drops his tray. He had met us at a convention in Brussels a year or two before, and he's like, "Oh my God, it's Kevin Eastman! I can't believe it!" And my son is like, "Oh, geez." Goes to eating his steak and frites, so it's kind of funny.
Just before we got a couple of questions that we're going to ask from the audience. We're fast running out of time. You guys can just see you're such a family. It's lovely. And talking about families coming back together, the brotherhood that you have with Peter, Kevin, it's wonderful having you back together as a creative team on The Last Ronin.
Thank you. Yes,
which
I love Peter.
Reading that was just incredible. I don't want to spoil it, but I know there's been talks of the games and a movie and all of this stuff. How amazing would it be and emotional would it be if we could have some voice actors that are on this stage to perform in that Last Ronin animated series? Is that something that we can make happen? I think that's the voices that we would want to hear. I mean, the impact that would have would just be... And how was it being back in the room and creating that? Was this story always there?
Well, it's like Peter and I, we've always been in touch, and we even now we text a couple times a week at least, depending. But it's always like, weather or the grandkids or just all these wonderful things. And when every time I'm back in Massachusetts, I live in Arizona, he's in Massachusetts, we always make a point to get up to the house. We have pizza and ice cream, surprise, surprise. And but it's like we'll talk about this, that, but it eventually drifts back to some of the early days and stories, and we pull out sketches of this and things of that, and try to see whose memory is worse. Do you remember this? But he's just lovely, and it was one of those. I always mention Peter a lot in any interviews and any events and stuff we would go, because it took the two of us to make it happen. And the fact that that was the spark that set a bunch of things in motion. And we will literally talk sometimes and go, from May of '84 when the first issue came out to 1987, that's an incredibly short period of time when we then met these awesome folks, and suddenly it's a cartoon show. And we were still shocked that the actual comic book sold. And, when the cartoon, I remember telling my mom that, hey, we're doing a cartoon show, we're doing 5 episodes. And she's like, yeah, sure. What are you smoking? No, and until it appeared in TV Guide, and it was like, then it's like, okay, now it's real. And even when it took the success of the first 5 episodes, where then Playmates greenlit the toys. And so June of '88, the toys hit the at the toy stores. KB Toys was the chain at the time. And so Peter and I, still didn't believe they'd actually be in the stores. So we drove down to Springfield, Massachusetts, and we're walking back through the toy store to the action figure aisle. And as we get there, this mom is dragging this poor young man out of the action figure aisle going, "No, I'm not buying you one of those stupid Ninja Turtles." And we were kind of like what? And, but we love those memories because it's been such an amazing journey. And it does take a village to make some of these things happen. You look at the amount of love and energy and things that went into, because Peter and I had full control over the treatments and the stories. We got to work with some people like, again, these awesome people that brought that whole thing to life. I mean, how many animation cells to make one episode? It's like 22,000 cells or something.
And we don't draw them and we don't write them. This is one of the most deeply collaborative efforts in
It is fantastic,
yeah.
And so then, when you look at, fast forward to, the amazing opportunity, because this was a perfect storm, and much like my two favorite moments of season one of the Turtles and many other, but it was going to the first Turtle movie, is, we met the first writer that came on board, and we basically called the movie studio and said, because we have control over it, and we said, we're not working with this guy. We're not doing it. Wow. And then they brought in Todd Langdon, who wrote the script, but more importantly, they brought in a UK native, Steve Barron. Steve Barron is just, fantastic, video director, and he had such a vision, and if not for Steve coming on board, and he loved the Turtles, he went through the original comics and picked out scenes, and this is how it's going to all come together. But then he convinced Jim Henson, who did not want to do the Turtles. It was too violent. It was too this. And once Steve showed him the script that he and Todd all put together, so we were lucky enough that, Brian Henson was second unit director. So when I look at that first Turtle movie, much like how this came together, that first Turtle movie, and why that will always be the best, is because it was a perfect storm of happy accidents that made that happen. And it was almost like, okay, who's in control here now? It's not us, because this is just, without all those pieces sort of coming together, it just never would have happened. And so, that's the kind of stuff Pete and I talk about, is those really wonderful memories and how lucky we were. And we always acknowledge that, again, like I started saying at the beginning, we have the best job because we have the best fans. And it's like, we couldn't be here if you guys weren't there, so.
Do we have time for a question or two?
Do you know what?
No,
we probably have time for one question. There's a young man down there that will internally combust if he doesn't get his question out. Joe, I'm going to come down to you, my friend, because we've got literally about 3 minutes left.
Oh, we've got Joe down there.
Hi, Joe.
Joe is an MCM rock star, by the way. Make some noise for Joe. He's sat down the front here. Hey, Joe.
Hey,
All right, we'll just extend the panel for another hour.
So this is a question for, Rob, Cam, all of you. What did it feel like coming back to the 2012 show? I'm talking about the 2012-87 crossover episodes. What did it feel like being back in the booth together?
Oh my God, Joe. It's not. The question is, what was it like being all back together, right? When we were recording
For Transdimensional,
the crossover episode. When we were talking in the 2012 Turtles, we did an episode called Transdimensional Turtles. And so that is, all of us got to go and meet the other Turtles. And I can tell you it was utterly remarkable. Just like this, every time that we're together, Joe, and we have the privilege of seeing people like you, whom we've gotten to know now, you and your beautiful mother. You're welcome. And by the way, all of you out there, please thank your parents for buying Turtle action figures, because as a result of their largesse, my kids' teeth are straight today. But we are a family, Joe, and it turns out that the Turtle family is not just the folks up here, it's all of you guys. And I say this all the time, and I mean this with all due respect. You could have a script written by Jesus, and $30 million is someone else's money, and if nobody watches, it's a fancy tax write-off. And Hollywood is full of dreams that have been shattered when you thought you had a hit. So nothing happens without you guys. And we all know that. So yeah, it's a blast.
I think it was driven home best I can speak for all of us, when a few years ago, was it Honda?
Yes. Oh, this is the story.
Honda, we were hired to do a Christmas campaign for Honda. And it's really hard for me to tell this story without it all coming back. We are hired for this Christmas campaign, and just imagine the suits sitting around at the ad table, right, going, what can we do to sell our cars this holiday? And somebody pitches the Turtles. The campaign was, I may be misquoting a little bit, remember that Christmas feeling you had when you got your Ninja Turtles? And they have animated the little action figures jumping all over the car and stuff. And the slogan is, get that Christmas morning feeling again.
That's insane. That's amazing.
And so these kids that we are picturing in their onesies with their cereal 2 inches from the TV, right, are now in suits. They're 40 or 30, whatever they are, and they, they've got their dress for success going on, and we start doing the script, and these grown-ups are, like this.
Unbelievable.
And it drove everything home, I think, for us boys that, oh.
Cam, was that before Transdimensional? Was that the first time we all got together? I was trying to remember that.
Well, it's the first time we all got together, I think, to work in a while.
Yeah.
So was it before Transdimensional?
Turtles?
No. This was after. But I mean,
This was after. Okay.
This was
Yeah,
after,
I couldn't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had a thrill being together in the booth again.
Right.
But that's us having our giggle fest and stuff.
Exactly, right.
But to have this come from outside and seeing a car with a ribbon, as they, that's a cliche, but as they do, cars in a big old ribbon. But they're going to sell more cars, they decide, if they can tap into you.
that's right.
Yeah, and this nostalgia craze, which is so insane, and we have you guys to thank for that, because
Indeed.
Because without you, there would be no us.
None.
That's right.
Yeah, a truly generational franchise that will live on
Thank you.
forever and is literally in all of our hearts. And the brotherhood and the family, that's the story that echoes throughout the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. MCM Comic Con, please, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm saying this. Make some noise for Barry Gordon, Townsend Coleman, Clarke, Rob Paulsen, Renae Jacobs.
Let's do
Kevin
one thing.
Eastman!
Yes. We just want to do one thing with you guys.
Okay.
On the count of 3.
Everybody.
All right.
We're gonna
1.
Turtle Power.
Power. On 3.
1,
2, 3.
Turtle Power!